Mattel canceled what feels like a bazillion Piston Cup haulers, crew chiefs, and pitties for 2010 and 2011 because, well, Cars 2 was coming and they kind of had to do stuff for that. One of the many victims of the cancellation massacre was the Tank Coat hauler. And I guess you could say, fortunately, Tank Coat did not have a whole team set plan, so it's not like a crew chief or any pitties were canceled as well. I guess you can kind of look at on the bright side because, for Easy Idle and N2O, the whole slew was canceled. All the pitties, the crew chief, and the hauler. So absolute brutal for them. But for Tank Coat, it was just the hauler. Fortunately, we have customizers at our disposal in the community, and Jim Scavenger finally put out a Tank Coat hauler here. And I say finally because he started doing these Piston Cup haulers almost 10 years ago now. I mean, it probably isn't quite 10 years ago, but I'd say it's probably 10 years since he did his first Apple hauler, which obviously is a little easier than some of these other ones. But he then went on to do toe cap, sputter stop, retread, revolting, rev and go. I mean, he went crazy. Tank Coat here, my favorite hauler, or at least one of my favorites, probably the one I wish was not canceled the most. I just love the vibrancy of the color scheme and all of that. The decals, we'll get into that, are just so creative for this hauler, more so than others in my opinion. And so yeah, finally here we are, 2025. Jim Scavenger put out a Tank Coat hauler. So awesome. Let's review it now. Eventually, obviously, we'll do the Thailand variant review of Eugene Carbureski, who's coming out, and then we'll do a whole Tank Coat team video down the road. But we're just going to start with the hauler for now because it definitely deserves its own video. So let's separate here the cab from the trailer and just focus on the best part of this whole ordeal, and that is the semi-cab here because Jim Scavenger painted it up in a beautiful pink that looks just like the canceled prototype we see at the Peterson Automotive Museum, along with all those other canceled haulers, fiber fuel, retread, toe cap, Vitaline, N2O, Easy Idle, and the list goes on. The pink looks perfect in comparison to that. And now we'll get to the trailer here in a second, but we all know, it's hard to paint plastic, especially a big object like this trailer. So Jim Scavenger just left it white like the Wally Hauler and then obviously applied the decals on top, which I'm totally cool with. Kind of a different interpretation of the Tank Coat hauler than we do see at the museum. But the semi-cab here is spot on accurate, right? That is what's most important to me here. The expression is really nice, a happy but mourning Tank Coat hauler because, well, obviously his real mothership was canceled way back in the day, 15 years ago. That is absolutely insane. Although probably would have been a 2011 release if we're being honest. Does have the mouth blade there, and Jim Scavenger was able to paint it very seamlessly, so it doesn't really look like it's two different shades. It's really not. Mattel struggled with this though. If you look at the prototype for the N2O hauler, would have been two completely different shades of purple, but that's a story for another day. But yeah, I mean, again, goes back to why it's a little bit more difficult to paint plastic than it is die-cast metal. But yeah, really nice there. And same thing with the cap up here, which I think he did an even better job seamlessly, just kind of transferring and transitioning into this region versus the metal here. Yeah, this is plastic. This is die-cast metal. You have the 36 logo there on the sides, which looks pretty much identical to what we see here on Eugene, just maybe a little bit darker to make it stand out. Looks really good here on this side as well. You have the Tank Coat logo on the cap with the white background, as all the semi-cabs have for Cars 1. That is their distinguishing factor. Cars 1 semi-cabs have the white background on their caps. The logo's on top. Really cool. Kind of reminds me how, like, for every new season of football, MLB, NFL, whatever it may be, they come out with like a new design of hat, right? And then all the hats are standardized just with each team's unique logo. That's kind of how I feel what it was for this Piston Cup season. And then as, times went on, changed it up. That's how we see Mac kind of evolve over the years. Now, that might contradict some of my previous takes on Dan Holland and Xavier Rodalt in terms of if they're Cars 1 or Cars 3 semi-cabs. That's Sputter Stop Experiment. That's also another topic for another day. A debate that has gone to rest, has been very dormant since 2021, but could easily be reignited with a very small spark that I just dropped there. Hopefully no one goes too crazy in the comments. I honestly need to revisit that. I think I used to argue they're Cars 1, but I honestly am not so sure anymore. So I need to revisit before I give you guys a strong opinion on that. Either way, license plate Jim Scavenger gave is Tank 36, pretty self-explanatory. You have the tank coat mud flaps there, which is awesome. Love when the semi-cabs have the logoed mud flaps. And yeah, he used the Wally Hauler, so that's why everything connects so nicely. This is probably, the new Wally Hauler made in Vietnam just a couple years ago before he was kind of replaced with Marty Hauler, the next gen Walmart hauler. Kind of crazy that we live in a world where the Wally Hauler is not around anymore. I mean, ever since 2010, it's kind of been just like a staple. You could always find one of those at Walmart. And now you could always find a Marty next gen hauler, but not so much the original one. So why I like the decals on the tank coat hauler, and actually let's show that in full there. This is the actual like Disney Pixar animation of the trailer. None of the semi-cabs really, besides like Mac and Gray Semi, appear in Cars 1, which is interesting. You know, I don't know where they hang out during the race. They have all their trailers parked up there in the center, the oval, but none of the semi-cabs show up. And so we don't really get to see how they would all look, but obviously the trailers are there, and thus we have this image. So yeah, perfectly spot on. Just instead of being, white on the trim here, it's fully pink. But I love the decals in the sense that it's basically like a big tank, a big rectangular tank that is filling up with this pink liquid, and you can see how it's kind of bubbling and got some waves going on within the tank. And then this is all the empty space. So I am hugely fond of that. Sue's Upset Tanks. Love it. Just love the color scheme for it. Always been one of my favorite sponsors, whether it be Cars 1 or Cars 3. I'm not a big fan of Reb Meeker. I think Reb Meeker is a little too similar to Eugene Carbureski, and we'll talk about this when I do my Thailand variant review of Eugene. But point being, it's like you have pairs like Krusty Rotor and Rev Rotages where the difference is almost unrecognizable for vinyl toupe. And then you have ones like Dud Throttleman and Chuck Armstrong, Rex Revler, Sage Vanderspin, Reb Meeker, and Eugene Carbureski, where the designs are very, very, very similar, especially for gaskets and tank coat, in my opinion. I would have wished that they were a little bit different, but I love Rich Mixon. He's a top 10, probably even top 5 next gen for me. On the back here, I almost have like a checkerboard finish there, or a backdrop there, and it's a gradient as well. Looks really cool. Love the racing text there. That's always a unique hauler element, the racing script, because nothing else, whether it be a pity or a crew chief or a racer, actually has that image or that word. So it's always something special for the haulers because it's, a little bit more emblematic of the team as a whole. So I love that. Wally, that is just such a small license plate. I do not expect Jim Scavenger to go and fish that out and replace it. That would be probably an impossible task. Same here. And then the roof, very unique. So instead of just having another decal with the number or the logo, has kind of more of the liquidy pink stuff. And yeah, it's almost like you're looking through the bottom of the tank. Really cool, really unique. And yeah, I don't mind that the rest of it around's white. I think it still looks phenomenal. And opens from the sides here. And yeah, basically just a Wally Hauler on the inside. I hate opening up haulers, honestly. They sometimes get stiff and then they make weird cracking noises and then I think I broke something. And so just best to leave all haulers as is, in my opinion. But let's reunite these two. Bam, wham, and I love it. Side view mirrors are also painted very well for being plastic pieces. And yeah, let's bring in the whole squad here. So, of course, you have Eugene Carbureski. This is the Motor Speedway of the South version, if you were wondering. I am not messing around, guys. As you can see by that date stamp there, that is refusing to focus in on. There we go. That is an official Motor Speedway of the South set. Tank Coat Racer. Same set as the Mac iCar. And while he's a little bit of a lighter pink, I'm telling you guys, this pink matches the prototype exactly. And yeah, it's a little bit more similar to the wheels and the spoiler of Eugene and the Pity Jerry drive chain who we got in 2009. Really, honestly, we should be grateful that this guy wasn't canceled, because we have to remember that the N2O Cola Pity and the Mood Springs Pity were canceled in 2009, as well as all the stuff that happened in 2010. So it's like, I mean, the Shiny Wax Hauler was another cancellation of 2009 that then got canceled again in 2010. So for us to get as many pities as we did in 2009, we got Nitro-Aid, Octane Gain, Vitaline, Easy Idle, Tank Coat being the best one in my opinion. Trunk Fresh, another fantastic pity. We should be extremely thankful for that. But yeah, this team looks really solid. I think Eugene's just kind of unique in the sense that the majority of his pink's a lighter shade, but I love how his kind of texture matches the roof there in the pink liquid just kind of flowing throughout him. I love that. What else do we have here? I do have a custom crew chief that is a lighter pink as well. I love the expression on this guy. Even if the paint and the decals isn't great, the expression is just too good. So yeah, that's another great addition. Obviously, we have Rich Mixon. This is the Thailand variant of him. Let's move Jerry out of the way here momentarily. Sorry, my guy. We got to showcase everybody with, everyone's got to get a picture with the new hauler, which you guys feel free to name in the comments below. Got Rich Mixon's crew chief here. I'm not sure if I reviewed these guys yet, so that also might be a video for the future. Next Gen Pity here as well. Who else do we got? Oh, a slew of factory customs. Oh, well, here's Reb Meeker, again, the one that I'm not a big fan of, but he's fine. So Reb Meeker has silver wheels. Just keep that in mind. Here's a factory custom with black wheels. Here's a factory custom with weirdly painted pink. Just a completely different take on. Yeah, I mean, just look at how differently they are painted there. Then have a factory custom Eugene with a white spoiler instead of the pink one. And last but not least, my favorite is Reb Meeker in the Cal Weathers mold, or as I like to call him, how did I say it? I think, is it Ral Meathers? I think it might be Ral Meathers. Or is it Keb Seb Weaker? Seb Weaker? Whatever hybrid name you want to give it. One of my favorite factory customs, one of the rarest factory customs right here. They had this image up on a ton of, and by they I mean Chinese sellers, had this image in a ton of their eBay and AliExpress listings, but when you went to order it, 99.99% of the time you're going to get this one, this black wheel version. So that's why I have like a ton of these, because I would order and try and get this repeatedly from different sellers, and they would always send me that other one, and then I would be like, hey bro, like you sent me the wrong one. They'd be like, all right, just keep it, because it was like $6 and they didn't want to pay to ship it back to China. So I have a ton of those. I think I gave quite a few of them away to my friends. But anyways, guys, what the hell else do I have to say? Nothing. Thanks, Jim Scavenger, for making this custom finally. Thanks to you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys soon for another one. Bye now. Let me know, who is your favorite member of Team Tank Coat? I think a lot of people are going to say Rich or Eugene, but hey, maybe we got some Jerry Drive Chain fans out there.